Good morning. Welcome back to the next Making a Game video. What were we up to? We were messing with import-export, and it's now in a place where if I go and run the game, we have import and export. So I can now go in here, I can edit, I can do whatever. I come back, this will have changed, I can export, and out it comes. And then if I were to exit, and reopen, oh, wrong thing. And I go and make sure I have this on my clipboard. I can hit import, and it updates this, and it gets me my pieces back, which is pretty neat. Currently not a good experience because the code assumes that the input is perfect and crashes. Oh, sorry. It crashes if not. So for that example, if I take this and I include a load of white space, I think that this should blow up. I didn't. If I just copy some nonsense. So. Oh, command's a command. There you go. Part of that is that we've got explicit asserts to check for these things. Instead of being an assert that crashes, that needs to be turned into... My God, what's this doing? I don't know, like a check and early return. I don't think this needs to return anything because it won't be handled anyway. But we're going to have to work out... I think the normal Odin idiom is you return OK and a value. Right, it's a bit like returning a result in Rust. But instead of unwrapping a result, you check the OK. I guess Go probably does this as well. They use multiple return values to show, yeah, that worked, or no, it didn't. But that's probably what we're going to try and do today. Make that error handling more robust. And that should make it into a better experience. Another example I was going to say is if I take that and I make it the right length, but I include white space that is bad, right? That should also crash. Yep. Unexpected value out of range. Yeah. Okay. So, that shouldn't be too hard, right? We want to try and like trim white spaces. Maybe trim new lines and /R's as well, just so that you could copy over multiple lines without an issue. There's a bunch of stuff. This is more kind of like polish now. I guess this is the place to start. I guess we should put our trim in there first, right? Immediately not sure what to do. Not a good look, is it? Is there an Odin package for trim a string? I'm interested now. We know manual entry for command. What is command? Nope, doesn't exist. Don't know why it's highlighting it. Let's have a look. Trim. Trim to cut the cut set string. Interesting. This would require us making it into a string, which I think it currently isn't. Oh. Maybe that's not the thing to do. Let's see how he does it. This will be a function group. He does trim right, trim left. What is this way? It trims into the valid non-space rune. And yeah, this is why we've been avoiding strings. Is runes, I think, represent a single UTF-8 character, whereas everything we're doing is in the sort of ASCII subset of UTF-8, so life can be simpler. So trim left space equals trim left proc. Left proc. I equals index proc. I is -1. What does that mean? Find the index of the first rune of the string in S for which the procedure P returns the same as truth. Oh, interesting. Right, okay, so you give it a predicate, you give it a string, it finds the first place where it should be true. If it doesn't find anything, we return an empty string. Else you return that. That is neat. How's return trim right going to work? Trim right proc. It's the last index proc. And the index of the last rune in the string S for which procedure P returns the same value as truth. Okay, so it's not just weird. There's like a predicate, but I might want to invert the predicate. So if I make that false, you like flip it. What this is. For I in the length of that, I greater than 0, R size, decode the last rune, because it's harder because you need to jump back by this sort of thing. I mean, because UTF-8 runes are between 1 and 4 bytes, you have to first look at the last byte in the string to see if it's a valid start of a UTF-8 character. If it isn't, you need to go back a byte. If it isn't, you go back a byte. Then once you know how long the rune is, you can analyze it, whereas we don't care about any of that because we know if we look at the last byte, it is going to be a character because we're only using like the ASCII subset of characters. But hey, interesting to look. Neat code. It is one thing I quite like. I don't know how much like Rust I can honestly say I've written bits, I've dabbled. I always find whenever I go to look at Rust source code, it's a fucking nightmare, right, to work out what's going on. Whereas I think I found both is Odin and Zig. Often, actually, you can just like turn up, start reading their source code, and it isn't hard. I'm curious what this is now, though. Algorithm, string searching from 1987 to find an exact match of a patterned string in a text. Uses a rolling hash. Cool. Quickly filter out positions of the text that cannot match the pattern, and then checks for a match at the remaining positions. Okay, cool. Wonder how that hash works. Naive string matching compares the given pattern against all positions in the given text. It does. Oh, who knew there were so many of these? Like a string search super page. Okay, maybe we'll have to do a bit of a string searching deep dive at some point, because that also sounds quite interesting. But not what we're doing today. How did I get there? Trimming. I think we're going to write our own thing because our strings are simpler than their strings. Um, so what do we want to do? At this point, that's not even true, because at this point we do have a string. I'm just talking nonsense, aren't I? Right, let's see. We got strings imported. We have. So if I jump back, at this point we have a string. So I can do strings dot trim. I think we can do just trim str with cut set. Set the characters to be trimmed from both sides of the string. So I think if we do space new line carriage return tab, that a good representation of what bad looks like. And assign that. No. Why no? Oh, whoops. So trim off the white space. Now assert this. Um, um, um. So what we do, if it's not insert, if it's not an assert, it's going to be if not this, return. Right, we just no op. Cool. So at this point, we know we've got something the right size. We know that we don't expect any, or we will not handle any multi-byte rooms. So we're going to just convert to U8s, stick those U8s into what's this? Into a buffer. We do a dumb copy. Built in, I think, has all the mem copy stuff. Not even in core, I don't think it's in built in. Or is there one of these for mem? There is one of these for mem. You have a procedure for copy. There we go. That's what I want. Copied on overlapping from good core mem. The core. So I think instead of doing this, we can do mem copy non-overlapping destination source and a length. So the destination is buff. The source is bytes. And the length is that one. Copy the bytes. It requires a raw pointer. So you need to be a raw data, I think it's called. You compile. Doesn't blow up. Nice. Um, Now, am I going to need an error message? And if I'm going to need an error message, am I better off doing that now? Yeah, maybe. Alright, so like in here, probably actually, this is a bad experience, and it's going to make it hard to debug. So probably the to do in here is to update error message. I think let's go add an error message on our main menu. Alright, so main menu state has our config string. It's also going to have an error string. I might similarly do like max string. We'll make this one runes so you can just type what you want. But let's limit it to U8 just to be as similar to the other one as possible. Max string length. What's a reasonable number? 64. Fit it within 64 characters, or we'll make it longer. We're in here. And we're going to go ahead and say, what? As we don't set anything as a default, so you've just landed on the page. We don't put anything in there. Maybe in here we have a set main menu error. The proc pointer to a main menu state. And a string. The easiest way to do this, so you can just pass it in. And what we will do is we will say so this is why I don't like doing strings. So if I do a len string, do I get the number of UTF-8 code points, or do I get the number of bytes? Okay, what was I looking for? Strings. String type. Raw pointer and a length. Yeah, they just point you over here. Excellent. String iteration. Okay, yeah. So length x, where x is a string, will give me bytes. Good. Iteration through runes is preferred since owning strings UTF-8. Most core library procedures will be addressed by byte if they do an input, output, an index, and a byte. Cool. Alias copy. What's an alias? Reuse the from data without allocation. What that's doing. Right. Set main menu error. It's going to take a string, so I want to be able to pass in just a compile time known string. Do we just mem.copy it over? If I go, yeah, this is something that should only happen. These are all going to be values that I'm aware of, right? So I can say if the length of string is greater than the length of state.error string, going to make it this because I don't want to get into the world where you end up with stupid stuff happening. So if length string is greater than the length of that, panic, and say string too long, overflowing, receiving buffer. Call it the main menu state buffer. That keeps us honest. Error string buff. An error string like that. And then we'll have both that and this. Make that nil explicitly? Yes, you can. Was better. What have I done here? Why are we unhappy about pieces? You meant to have commas. There we go. So I want to set the main menu error. State main menu state with a string. If the length of the string is too great, error string buff. We say then else. Let's do an import core mem. And then let's do a what? Set the main menu error if the length of that. Mem dot copy non-overlapping. Destination is state dot buff. Start point is stir. Can I just do that? No. Yes. And then this one's got to be a raw data. Stir. You need a length. And then it's happy. So we check the string's not too big. Do the copy into the buffer. And then we say state dot error string is equal to state dot error string buff from naught to lenster. And then I can grab that slice when I want to use the actual string. That feels nice. Does mean we need to make sure to keep the two in sync with each other. But that doesn't sound too onerous. So then we're in here and we want to do... I need to tweak my Emacs behavior, I think, on what it calls a word. So I think it doesn't count punctuation. All right, so in my head, I would quite like, I think, for a word to just be any like contiguous block of non-white space or line breaks. So there, I'd quite like for a word jump to take me from here to the T and to do, right, instead of stopping in the middle. And then I would like subwords to be either camel cased, which I can already do, or punctuation. But the one that annoys me is this one. So if I want to jump back to the first slash there, I guess you can do Alt M would get you there. But I don't know, just as habit, I'm used to be. I think in Vim, if I hit B there, I think it would put me there. But so here, if I like try to jump back by a word, it skips that punctuation, takes me back to the last line, and then keeps going for a word, which basically never what I actually wanted it to do. That's on my to-do list at some point, but I don't know. I thought if I just kept using it, I'd get used to it. I'm just not getting used to it. Does anyone remember what we called that function? Set main menu error. on game dot state as a main menu state pointer to it. String too long. Incorrect string length. How do you do this then? Message. Is it this? Go better like that. Painful, isn't it? Maybe this is my fault for not just using strings, but hey, we're committed now. Right, so what are we doing? Error message is that set it, then return. We currently don't show that anywhere though. So that will be back in our main menu stuff, which I think takes us back to here. There's all use of main menu. No. It'll be an entity. Why am I blanking? We were doing this the last time. Was it in game? This feels more promising. Main menu. There we go. Game popular entities. Main menu popular entities. So we have our piece config. Let me say there then error message. Error message. Pos. No. Just stick at the top of piece config string. So it's piece config string pos. Can't do that. Y will be piece config string pos dot y plus piece config string dim dot h. So you shuffle it up. That break nicely, it will. And our error message dim. I don't know. I'm seeing something's going to be tricky with this. This probably needs to depend on the number of characters we're putting in, doesn't it? Because otherwise it's going to just be huge. Error message dim. All right, let's start with something dumb. Let's just start with that being this. I think this will look silly. It does mean we get to the end of all of our entity pushes. We can now entity push a text entity for error. Message pause, error, message dim. State dot error string. So that should now show the error message. So let's go get a bad one. And we hit import. Oh. Legal instruction. Legal instruction where, sir? Can't render lowercase, can we? Alright, hang on. Let's go in here, type ABC. Copy that. Hit import. Core dumped illegal instruction. Okay, how do I get this? Is it core dump control? I think grabs the latest one. Apparently I've been using GF2. How do I look at this? Yeah, so it is trying to draw the string. That's interesting. That means getting further than I thought it was. Wonder if instead of doing GF2, can I just do it in GDB? If I hit backtrace, is that more readable? I think I prefer that for just reading what this is. Draw string, draw text, draw entities in main. Yeah, so it is trying to draw it. I assume every time it's trying to draw it, I go format print line, state dot error string. Can you not do that? Len state error string state error string. We do this. Take this to the bottom. Do the bad import. Failed to convert selection to string. 23 incorrect string length. So we are setting the value. It all needs to be capital, doesn't it, Matt? Incorrect string length. Will be nah. Yeah. Is it control X control U? Yes. There we go. And this is what I was saying. It stretches that in a way that's probably not actually what we want. Annoying. Where actually were we just now? Not in there. Is it just going to bounce between these forever? Oh no, did I go too far? Alright, what are we doing? I want... God, where was it doing it? We were literally just looking at it. We're in here. I want to find main menu. We populate entities. Oops. We come in here. There we go. So this does look silly. So what I actually want to do is I want to make these characters the same length as the string, the piece config characters, but I only want to show as many as there are in the error message. So can I say here character width will be my piece config string dim divided by, no, not dim, dim.width, which is a float, not an int, yep. Divided by, I call it piece config string length. All right. Times something. Max pieces. So that's the number of characters per piece. That's the number of pieces. This gets me the width of each character. So you're now able to be a dim. Your width is car width times len state dot error string. Angry because we need to cast that to a float. Then height can just be what am I looking at? 20. Add import, incorrect string length. Cool. If we do that, then do a successful import, we'll want to reset it. Neat. Do I have a to-do to go back to? Back in Yar. That's pretty nice. I guess in here, this point is where it succeeded, so I'd like to say set main menu error. And game state dot main menu state to make it empty. No. Let's make it clear. Be in here, clear menu error proc state pointer to main menu state. Doesn't need a string. And it will just go state dot error string. Not the right way to do it. Maybe. If that's what we're doing, I don't think it needs a function. Instead of calling that, we want to go okay. We keep referring to the state, so let's go grab the state first. So state will be game dot state dot main menu state turned to a pointer, so that this can just be called state. We get to the end nya, and we want to be able to go state dot error string. Does that work? Oh, we have two states. Apparently that fixes it. All right, so we do this again. Do an import. Export a good value. Goes away. Beautiful. Where have I done this print? So I would like to get rid of it. There it is. All right. Go grab some characters. Add import. Good import. Not spitting stuff out everywhere. Good. Right. Oh, I was also going to check that trimming behavior. So let's make some changes. Hit export. Stick them in here, so we've got them. And then let's say I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to include white space. So if I paste this, you can see it sticks it not at the start because it's got white space there. We come back, we hit import. Hang on, let me start the game again. So hit import, and it just trims it fine. And we can see our changes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Nice. I think what we might want to say here is if, can I say instead if len string less than that, string too short, else if len string greater than config string length times max pieces, then message is string too long. Set main menu error. State transmute. And early return. Sure, that's nicer, right? So we copy too few characters. Well, you remember it's Emacs, and so it works weirdly for copying. Hit import, string too short. Get something huge. Import, string too long. Nobody blows up. All is well. That seems nicer. Right, so we're down here. We know we have a string that's the right length. We get the bytes. We say buff equals config string length thing. We copy the data into it. We now say decode string to piece config. Multiple return to indicate success or failure. Right, let's do a quick commit. We've not made that much progress today, have we? Been fanning about. Cool. What am I saying there? Handle bad input lengths. Right. So now we're back in here. Should have stuck to do on there. So I think the move is you take all of this, you go, okay, ball, pieces. Then in your good case, you return true. And at the place that's calling it, you do okay in pieces. And we say in here, if not okay, a message can be invalid. Invalid imported string. Set main menu error. On state transmute this message. And it returns. Else it is okay. And we go and we start doing stuff. Oh. Go ahead and just split these up into little blocks because I think they make some sense of that. Cool. So decode string to piece config. We do it per piece. So I guess this now also has to be string to encoded piece. Bool. Sorry. Okay. Bool. And output gets to the end, returns true and output. For each digit. See, this check we can just do up front, can't we? I was about to say what we can do is we can go through here and we can say check that what are we saying? Check that the ASCII value that comes in is one of basically these, right? So we can have a is valid car is a proc that will take in a config string length times max pieces returns a bool fact is valid car can just be a U8, can't it? So is this character good? And we say switch on C case so we're gonna do the same thing that we did in that get the value thing, right? Case from 0 to 9. Can you do combined cases? I don't think you can. But look. Case from A to Z. Return true. Default case returns false. Oh, maybe you can combine cases like that then. Okay. So we're up here. We want to know if we're okay. We have encoded pieces is some buffer. We have a buffer. Oh, there are buffers everywhere. Oh. So we say here before we start, for C in input, if not is valid car C. You can early return, and this defaults to false, so an early return just errors essentially. And then it goes on to do the actual work. That catches actually most of the case we've been doing, right? Bugger. Going on. Error missing return statement. No, because that catches everything, doesn't it? I just think an unreachable. I don't actually think you can get there. What's your problem? Decoded. And okay. Can we say testing.expect T okay? That worth doing? go nya. Let's go nya. Let's go Odin. Test main. Ooh, failed. I failed. Where's the output? Import export string round trip. On testing, expected and values. Okay, should be true. I think it says it more explicitly, doesn't it? It'll say expected, true, got false. Somewhere. Am I just bad at reading this? It feels like there's a lot. Signal caught illegal instruction. What does that mean? So I don't think it is a expected true got false. I think someone's blowing up. Right, let's go in here. Let's grab our so that's a correct length output. Can we go in here and make U lowercase? That's a correct length, but invalid output. Import, and we crash. Show me where we were. In is valid character. Interesting. How we messed that up? What is valid character? It did reach this. Alright, am I just wrong about how that works? Okay, in this case, we return false. Sod these. Import string too short. Then I get this string back. So we go zoot. We hit import. Invalid imported string. Perfect. That doesn't actually cover all cases. Because you can give us, for example, if I give you the valid version, I just make first digit massive. I think that might break it. So I think this number's too big and doesn't actually represent a piece. Sorry, hang on. Let me just check. I don't think it'll hit any of our logic. It did hit some logic. Interesting. Wonder how it's getting caught. Okay, let's jump to where you're being used in here. Encoded pieces, buffer. Goes through each of them. String to encoded piece. I think you have places you can blow up. So string to encoded piece. All right, hang on. What if I just take this and I make everything Zs? That might be enough. Sure, there's ways to blow this up. Hang on. Go grab you. Paste it in there. Get the same number of Zs. So it's a correct length, but it is an incorrect. I don't think that can be a valid string to input. Import. Odin. Yeah, just save everything. That will let you import, and then apparently it is a valid string. That doesn't look like a valid string, does it? I wonder how it's getting to that. Does my handling just assume things are going to be reasonable and just ignore stuff that isn't? Quite likely. Maybe that's fine then. So what it means is any string you can generate by hitting export and then importing will get you what you expect. And if you give it something silly, but it's in a valid format, it will just give you something, and that something should be stable. Right, because the behavior is the same each time. So if I import, go back to edit, I should get the same thing each time. Maybe that's fine. Interesting. I thought that would blow up. How's this working then? So string to encoded piece. We take each digit, we get its value. We increment the output. Okay, so that gets us to the point where we've got a number. We're going to find where it's called string to encoded piece. Then decode piece config. Yeah, because these asserts are what had me concerned. I'm failing to hit them. It's probably just good luck, right? It's probably just that most of these outputs, when we do this masking, happen to give us not a value. I don't know. Not a value greater than or less than 6. Sorry, not a value 6 or more, because it's only 6 and 7 that it could be. Yeah, I think these are still the problem. So I think this does need to return okay. And we'll fix all the stuff it breaks. And instead of these asserts, we'll have if that. If not, rot center greater than or equal to 0, and that. Early return. And in this case here, if not this. Early return. Right. And they're the only bits that can blow up. You give it dodgy filter values, they just kind of make sense. Equally, my mask is 31 bits, so that first bit can be anything. So actually, there's a bunch of different config strings that will give you the same config. I think it's fine. Cool. I might add something to say that that's not fine, actually. So my padding bit is input ampersand. I just say shifted 31 times. I'll say here if padding bit is not equal to 0, early return. Bad. How do we feel about that? So that way we lose this strange behavior where different strings could be valid and represent the same value. Right. We do all of that. We keep going through here. Filled is this. Pieces is this. Padded, filled balls. This. Filled balls is that. Yeah. So that's everywhere that I think could blow up. Cool. We need to go through and fix all of these problems now. What is your problem? Expected 2 return values. You got 3. Decode piece config. I'm going to call it decode OK and decoded pieces. Decode piece config for encoded pieces. Oh, can I just return? Yeah. I can just return that. Cool. I'd like a testing dot cert value t okay true. Not cert, expect value. Yeah. I have to recompile because most of these go away. Okay, is this testing expect value t okay true? Okay, is this testing expect value t okay true? And again, who wrote so many tests? Testing expect value t okay true. Cool. We can edit. We can export. We can paste that somewhere. Close. Oops. Exit processes. No, don't exit. I wanted to close you. I wanted to rerun it. That's now different. I want to make sure this is on my clipboard. I import it. Hey. That's interesting. Broke it. That is interesting. What did we messed up? We're in here. Decode string to piece config. Should return okay. Decode piece config ever returns okay. So if I come in here and I Odin test main, they're all failing. And lots of them expected okay to be true but got false. Yeah, we've cocked something up, haven't we? That makes it sound like it needs to be in here. Is it my padding bit? If I comment this out, try again. No, so it's not the padding bit. Oh, sorry. Undo. Can I format print line padding format print line X and pop that right up, and that Y. What's your reason? I export you, I import you, and you didn't print me anything. Didn't even get there. What thickens? So who else could it be? This one? Format, print line. Oh. Yeah, it's that one. Interesting. How'd you hop this one up? This point, for each C in input, damn, am I losing it? Format print line C. What do you look like? 57. 57. Let's go ski 57 is the digit 9. Well, it should be. Yeah, because it's not got anything in there. Do I need to do that? Try again. Invalid imported string. No longer in car though. So that's good news. Let me get rid of this because it's very noisy. Export, import. It's something else. Go deeper. Alright, so we're in here. We're getting past this check. Encoded pieces, buff. Encoded pieces equals string to encoded piece. I think can't fail because it's just doing maths to turn the string into a number. And then we return decode piece config. It's because we've done this wrong. Idiot boy. Don't you love it? Think you're cute. There you go. Okay, cool. That looks like it's working again. Let's go run those tests again. Beautiful. Okay, yeah, that was really stupid. But caught it. I think that should now mean I think that should now mean you can't give us a input that would break us. That's fun. We could try writing loads of tests and checking that. I don't know if I want to though. Curious about this one though. So this is going to set everything as big as possible. I thought would likely break. Yep, there you go. But if we come back and I pick one of these other silly strings, like that one, also unhappy. Is that another one that I broke? This is the problem now. I don't know which ones of these I've broken. That looks like a legitimate one. Import that one, and it works. Excellent. I think I'm calling that good. And we'll discover the bugs in due course. I think it's also worth saying we totally can make this nicer. Oh, hang on, let me go format these files as well. That's import export. Can we just go check game.odin, import thingy again? Yeah, they both had changes. There we go, a bit of formatting. What do we do? Error handling for unexpected values in decoding. I call it config decoding. Let's go with that. Cool. I think that's probably robust enough for us for now. If we want to polish it further, we totally can. So, invalid imported string is not a particularly useful error message, and we could have the error message say what was invalid. So it could be, you know, like piece 4 padding bit or something like that, right? So, so that you just know. I think that's probably more useful debugging than it would be to an actual person. Because I don't expect anybody to ever sit and like work one of these out by hand and type it in. In which case, invalid imported string just tells you, oh, you probably copy pasted it wrong. So yeah, I think we'll go with that. I think that's fine for now. How would you do that? I guess what we'd have is okay, and then an error type. So maybe instead of returning okay, you could have an enum where the 0 value is okay, and then you have like your different error types. And then we could have a switch to get you the right error message based on that enum, but I don't think it matters what we're doing. Let's have a look at the README, work out what's on our to-do list next, because I don't think we've got time to do it today, but I am curious. The trimming white space we've done, validate import string length and characters. We've done add error handling to our decode, which we've done. What have we got left? Save game configs and pick from a list. Game sounds. Save a move history and view or validate a replay. Rebind controls. Probably should have a high scores as well, shouldn't we? Just write that to a file somewhere. It's probably not hard to do. Save game configs, pick from list, game sounds, persist high scores, save a move history, and view or validate a replay, rebind the controls, edit grid, ghost tile, and rot center on hover. Cool. Well, we'll pick one of those two next. I don't think any of them sound huge. None of them sound tiny either. So, hey, good session. Got some stuff done. I will catch you on the next one.